So a really quick video today. Essentially, Medium just introduced a new stats page to reflect their new direction and algorithmic changes. So today I will be going over what each of these new stats means, what to look out for, and how to use them to analyze your stories and ultimately earn more money from them. Let's get into it. Okay, so on the homepage, not too much has changed. You can still see your views in chunks of 30 days. They have changed the main metrics that show up on the home screen to reflect their new direction of focusing on engagement. To be honest, I didn't love this at first because I like being able to see the total views and reads next to each story. But now that I've gotten a little more used to it, I do like how you can see your earnings right here on the main screen. You can toggle to show your top earning stories, which is nice. In the past, you had to click on each story individually. Medium is saying that these changes are temporary as they are working to rework the stats page. And if you click on view stats, you can go into individual stories, and here's where you will see the lion's share of the changes. Total earnings, views, read, and read ratio, which is defined as your total views divided by your total reads, a read being anyone that has read your story for more than 30 seconds. Down here, I do like this feature. You can see a more accurate breakdown of your earnings per day and also per month. So if we go to a story that has been live for multiple months, you can see how the story is performing from month to month. In the past, you needed a Google Chrome plugin for this, which I will get into later. You can also see if the story has been boosted. And what I like about the stats page the most is how they have links with additional information on almost every area. Under earnings, you have the views. You can see if your story has been boosted. You can see the day it was boosted and how much of an effect that boost had. And then here, depicted with green and yellow, you can see the contrast of member views versus non-member views. Now, earnings are calculated primarily by how long members spend reading your story. So although member read time is not taken into account when pushing stories out to a wider audience, it's still the main metric when it comes to your earnings. Under reads is where things start to get a little confusing. So they have broken it down into member and non-member reads. Read ratio is only important because it feeds the algorithm. A high read ratio does not necessarily equal high earnings, because if your story is 5 minutes long and each of these reads is only 30 seconds, that won't equate to much total reading time and which ultimately translates to earnings. The one aspect that they took off of the stats page completely that I don't love is your average reading time. That is a great indicator of how captivating your story is, because the longer somebody reads, the more interested they are. And even though the average reading time is no longer a metric for feeding the algorithm and pushing your story out to more readers, it's still nice to know how long people are reading your story for, because claps and comments don't always tell the stories. And I hope they bring it back as they're still experimenting, and total read time for that matter. That's a really important metric as well. Now they just show you earnings, which removes some of the transparency regarding the algorithm. At the bottom they have engagement, which again is one of the main determining factors when deciding what stories the algorithm pushes out to a wider audience. They have the metrics broken down here into total clappers, highlighters, repliers, and followers. And at the bottom you have your traffic sources, which haven't changed much. The main metrics you want to look out for here are internal versus external referrals. This is a helpful metric to see where people are finding your stories, as well as your readers' interest. Now, this can be really helpful for deciding what tags to use in your stories. What you can essentially do is look at your top stories. So however you determine that, for me, it's earnings, because that's ultimately the goal. And if you look at the stats, you can go down to the reader's interests and you'll get a breakdown of the topics they're interested in. You can even click on these to see what kind of stories are performing well. I wonder if you can do archive on topics. Let's try. Nice. And then you can even see the top stories that are posted under those topics to see what people are interested in and maybe what type of headlines work. It's always a smart rule of thumb to have around 2 tags that you use on every story. So for me, I put mindfulness and lifestyle on every story, almost every story I publish. And that is because when people search for topics, let's say mindfulness, this is a big topic, so I don't think I am here, but I believe this is a smaller topic. So I believe I show up here. So that is one way to expand your audience, is by using the same tags in every story. And really quickly, before I share the last piece of information that I believe is a must for leveling up your Medium game, is just a really quick snapshot of how to analyze stats as a beginner. So if you're a beginner, all the information I gave you might be a lot to unravel and it might not be helpful. So I want to just provide a really easy, actionable way to analyze your stats, to continue to grow and ultimately earn more money from your future stories. Let's refresh this. If we go to our stats page, I would first look at your total views, compare them to the last couple of months, make sure there aren't any big dips. If there are spikes, like you can see here on these days, you can look into the stories and see what contributed there. Although there's an easier way, which I will show you in a moment. So I would look at these, see what is working. If you have a story that earned a particularly large amount of money, you can always analyze those. I have 2 here. So this one here, it got boosted, so obviously that helped. It has a high read ratio, which means that it's engaging to most people, compared to another story that is not boosted. Next week, I will be diving deeper into the boosted feature, but one thing I want to show you is that you don't actually need to get boosted to still earn a substantial amount from your articles. For instance, I have this article here that has not been boosted. All the traffic came merely from internal Medium views. 72% came from internal traffic. That's people just seeing the story on your homepage. Stories about Medium stay within what they call your direct network. So they aren't actually pushed out to a wider audience. So it's only people, when you post a story specifically about Medium, the only people that see that story are people that follow you or follow the publication that you publish it in. This means that this story here, even though it did not have the opportunity to be presented to a wider audience, it was still able to earn a substantial amount of money just because of the length of the story, the topic, and how interesting the story was to read. So you don't need to get boosted. You can still self-publish, write the way you want, or publish in your own publications if you have one. And other than that, I wouldn't really look at too many other metrics. When you're looking at your stats, look at the views, look at the earnings, and then see what is contributing to that success. The only other thing I would do is analyze your top 10 stories. Where did you publish them? How long are they? How much engagement did they get? Were they boosted? Were they not? Keep it simple. Over time, you'll get an understanding of what seems to be working for you and what's not. And if you've watched any of my past videos, you'll know that I am a huge fan of looking at the trending articles, either within a publication or a topic, to see what topics people are interested, but more importantly, the headlines people are using. You will notice trends such as, I did this for 30 days, here's what happened. Or articles about health and fitness seem to earn more money than other articles. And for a deeper insight into your stats, as well as some of the metrics that Medium removed from their stats page, I would recommend downloading a free Google Chrome extension called Medium Enhanced Stats. It offers just that, enhanced stats, showing you not only your collapsed earnings, but also your read time, which is something Medium has removed, a breakdown of stories on a daily basis, as well as showing you how your stats line up to the articles you posted. Anyway, I said this would be a short video, and I feel like I have been rambling on for quite a while now. That is the end of this video. As I mentioned, next week I will be diving into the boosted feature and unpacking everything you need to know, including how to get boosted and how much boosted stories actually earn compared to non-boosted stories. If you haven't already, subscribe and hit the bell icon so you can be notified when that video goes live. Leave your questions below in the comments. Even if you don't have a question, leave a comment. It helps the algorithm and it really helps me to understand what's on your mind. Have a great day, and I'll see you in the next video.